Echoes of the Forest. Chapter 1. The Invitation. On a crisp autumn morning, friends, Evelyn, Mark, Sarah, and Tom set out for a weekend hiking trip to Pinewood Forest, a sprawling woodland known for its majestic trees and mysterious lore. The forest, with its towering pines and dense undergrowth, was a place of fascination for many, drawing adventurers and thrill-seekers alike. The group was eager for a break from their busy lives and hoped for a weekend of exploration and camaraderie. As they drove through winding roads towards the forest, Sarah, the most cautious among them, read from an old travel guide she'd found. The guide's description was both alluring and unsettling. Pinewood Forest is renowned for its natural beauty, but it holds a dark secret. Many who wander too far into its depths have reported hearing voices and feeling as if they are being watched. Beware the forest tricks. Mark, ever the skeptic, dismissed the warnings with a chuckle. "It's just local legends," he said. The group laughed off the foreboding words, excited for their adventure. Chapter 2. Into the Depths. Upon arriving at the forest's edge, the friends unloaded their gear and began their hike. The forest immediately enveloped them in its shadowy embrace. The towering trees created a canopy that filtered the sunlight into eerie patterns on the forest floor. The crunch of fallen leaves beneath their boots provided a rhythmic comfort against the forest's oppressive silence. As they ventured deeper, the landscape grew more surreal. The trail, once clear and inviting, began to twist and turn in unexpected ways. Evelyn, who had taken the lead, suddenly stopped. "Look at this," she said, pointing to an old, weathered sign partially obscured by underbrush. It read, "Beware the lost souls." Tom snorted. "It's probably just an old joke," he said. Despite his dismissal, an uneasy feeling settled over the group. They continued along the winding path, their initial excitement giving way to a growing sense of disquiet. Chapter 3. The Disappearance. By late afternoon, the forest seemed to have transformed. The once familiar path now felt alien and labyrinthine. The friends' sense of direction began to falter, and a creeping sense of dread took hold. They had expected to find a scenic clearing to set up camp, but the landscape appeared to shift around them, as if the forest itself were guiding them astray. Eventually, they stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin nestled in a small clearing. Its weathered exterior and broken windows gave it an air of eerie desolation. Desperate for a place to rest and hoping to find some clue about their location, they decided to investigate. Inside, the cabin was in disrepair, filled with dust-covered furniture and strange, cryptic symbols carved into the walls. As the group explored the cabin, their unease grew. The symbols were unsettling, and the air was thick with an oppressive silence. They attempted to reassure themselves, but the growing darkness outside made the cabin feel increasingly like a prison. They decided to spend the night there, hoping to regain their bearings in the morning. Chapter 4. The Night Whispers. That night, as the forest outside grew darker, Evelyn was disturbed by faint whispers and disembodied cries. She awoke with a start, her heart pounding. The whispers seemed to come from all directions, a disjointed murmur that filled the cabin with a sense of impending doom. She nudged Mark awake, her voice trembling. "Mark, do you hear that?" Mark, half asleep, strained to listen. "I hear it too. It sounds like voices, but they're too faint to make out." The whispers grew louder, interspersed with distant, agonized cries that seemed to seep through the walls. The friends huddled together, trying to make sense of the growing terror. Sleep was impossible as the whispers intensified, filling the night with an unending sense of dread. Chapter 5. Lost and Alone. Morning brought little relief. The once familiar surroundings of the cabin seemed even more disorienting in the light of day. The forest outside had become a tangled maze, and the path they had followed was nowhere to be seen. Panic set in as the group realized they were truly lost. In their desperation, they returned to the cabin, hoping to find some clue that might help them escape. Mark, searching through the cabin's decaying remnants, found a journal hidden beneath a loose floorboard. The journal belonged to a previous visitor who had vanished years ago. Its entries detailed a harrowing experience of hearing voices and feeling watched by an unseen presence. The final entry was a frantic scrawl: "The forest is alive. It won't let us go." The journal's grim account heightened their fear. The friends tried to make sense of their situation, but the forest seemed to close in on them, each attempt to navigate only leading them deeper into its grip. Chapter 6: The Haunting Truth. As night fell once more, the whispers returned, now evolving into tortured screams that echoed through the forest. The friends' attempts to leave were thwarted by an unseen force that seemed to manipulate the very environment around them. The trees loomed closer, and the path shifted, making escape seem impossible. Their terror reached a peak as the forest's malevolent presence became palpable. Shadows danced menacingly, and the cries grew louder, filling their minds with horror. The realization that they were not alone, and that the forest was actively tormenting them, made every sound and movement a source of dread. Chapter 7: The Final Escape. In a final, desperate bid for freedom, the friends fled the cabin, navigating the dark forest with frantic urgency. The once ominous trees now seemed like towering obstacles, and the shifting ground threatened to ensnare them. Guided only by their sheer will to escape, they pushed through the darkness, their fear lending them strength. After what felt like an eternity, they emerged from the forest, stumbling onto a familiar path that led them back to their car. Exhausted and traumatized, they drove away from Pinewood Forest, vowing never to return. The forest's haunting whispers lingered in their minds, a chilling reminder of the dark forces that lurk within its depths. Their experience left them forever changed, haunted by the echoes of the forest's sinister presence.